we can all take our seats, please, and get started today. We're going to start with a call to order and an invocation and the pledge. And who's doing the invocation this morning? You? Oh, thank you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I think we'll start over here with Councilor Burke, and we'll go around the room and everyone introduce themselves, please.
Hello, Vice Mayor Chris Burke, City of Seminole, representing the inland communities.
Councilmember Richie Floyd, St. Petersburg, District 8.
Councilmember John Muhammad, aka your brother John, City of St. Petersburg, District 7.
Julie Ward Bajowski, Mayor of the Great City of Dunedin.
Whit Planton, Executive Director.
Eric Gerard, Vice Mayor, City of Largo.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council, representing PSTA.
David Will, Mayor of Reddington Beach, representing the beach communities.
Councilmember Andrew Knapp, representing City of Oldsmar and Safety Harbor and Tarpon Springs.
Welcome, everyone. Tina, do we have any citizens to be heard today?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have two, and the first up is David Ballard Geddes Jr.
David, please come forward.
Hi, good afternoon. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live at 802 Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. As Pinellas County moves forward in the course of human events, does the actions of this board in government intend on assuming the powers of government, usurping powers, assuming such powers as and entitling itself as government? When in the course of human events moving forward based on the Declaration of Independence, this government seems to have declared itself to be able to birth within itself a new government in and of our present system of government, using our current system of government as its medium, intending on dissolving our existing structure of government in a long train of usurpations as written in the Declaration of Independence. Using our current government, it appears as a cover-up operation seen as a useful art for limited times. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, aiding and abetting such capricious political undertaking in and of our current system of government, candidly, pretentiously using our present Constitution as its bill of attainder, as its letter of marque, as its hold, and truthfully doubling down on constitutional deception in conquest of insurrecting tyrannical liberties and despotic happiness, placing fellow mankind on a long train of usurpations as written in the Declaration, taking our liberty, our property, and the life of Christianity in the 14th Amendment, birthing unwarranted water jurisdictions, insurrected as the new seat of government. Based on Federalist Paper number 8, our current government is comprised of legislation that is loyal to the British militia, playing a game of constitutional pretentiousness as written in the Declaration, pledging to be allegiant to the present history of the King of Great Britain, and fortifying these unwarranted usurpations in the building of its ramparts, insurrected as despotic water jurisdictions. Again, is this how Pinellas County is self-evidently moving forward? Thank you.
Next. Who do we have next, Tina?
Madam Chair, we also have Mike Reardon here today wishing to address the board.
Come forward, Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike Reardon. I live in Clearwater. First, I'd like to give everyone on this board some homework. Please go back and look at the September, October, November 2019 summary. You don't have to read the whole minutes, but there's a summary, just the section about Drew Street. And look what is said during September, October, November. Also, I'd like to point out the fact that this project for Drew Street that's being killed and ruined, first of all, forget the new plan. That is a horrible plan, making the wide rotor, bringing cars closer to sidewalks, closer to homes, making cars go faster. Everyone knows when you get double lanes that are wider, cars go faster, and you have that center. It's a horrible plan. Don't reward Clearwater anything. Don't give them a dime. FDOT needs to figure out if it's going to stick with what's on its website, its vision. It says what we do, integrity, we always do what is right, commitment, we do what we say we are going to do. This is FDOT's website. Trust, we are open and fair, customer-driven, we listen to our customers. The customers are not the Chamber of Commerce of Clearwater, Frank Hibbard, other people calling up Hooper, Burfield, and sabotaging the plan for Drew Street. There were 60 letters, 2 petitions with over 100 signatures. There was 2,700 responses to 2 questionnaires that went out. This all goes back to 2017. I bet all your communities could have used $10 or $20 million to do the right thing. Don't give Clearwater a damn penny for Drew Street. FDOT, they need to get up there with Secretary Perdue, District Secretary Gwynn. They need to come back down and say, are we going to do the right thing by the citizens of Clearwater, the citizens of Florida, or are we going to be manipulated? Now, Ed Hooper called me a month ago today, about a year late. He says the next month he's going to walk Drew Street and look at it with me. I would like someone from Fort Pinellas and FDOT to join us, because I want to see him stand on the corner of Highland and Drew and tell me that it's a good idea to leave that damn road the way it is, because the current plans do nothing from Betty Lane. And why you want to widen the road, widen the lanes, and then narrow them back down again. The streetscape was overwhelmingly approved by the city council, 3 votes. Then it was going to meet with FDOT in Fort Pinellas, and they canceled the February meeting and do it after the elections. And the 3 people who won the elections at Clearwater all happened to be Republicans, and there was a GOP primary. I could go on forever about the BS that Rector, Menino, Cotton, and currently Teixeira, who's on the council, who says she can tell Drew Street needs to stay the way it is, sitting on her balcony on Cleveland Street. Don't do anything for Clearwater. FDOT, please do the right thing or nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back next week and talking about the Constitution.
Okay. We'll be here. Oh, it's August. No, we won't be here. Oh, well. You're confusing me, Eric. And is that it, Tina, for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right, now we are on the consent agenda. Does anyone have any item that they would like to pull from consent?
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying yes. Aye. Okay. Did you say nay? No. Oh. Just checking. Okay, so now we are into our public hearings, and first we will have case number CW 24-10, City of Pinellas Park. Emma?
Good afternoon. Kicking us off with this case that came to us from Pinellas Park. It is a 1.9 acre parcel located at 5005 Almerton Road. The existing countywide plan map category is residential, office, employment, and target employment center. Employment and target employment center is the proposed countywide plan map category. The site is currently vacant, was previously used as a financial institution, and the applicant desires to construct a gas station with convenience store, and these proposed uses would be allowable uses under the employment category. So we have a location map showing the subject area as well as a jurisdictional map showing that it is within the Pinellas Park jurisdiction. So an aerial view and surrounding uses, we have some warehouse and workshop towards the north, and then a quick service establishment directly to the east, and to the south there is some retail and commercial, and then also commercial to the west. So as you can see, the countywide plan map does have a split designation for this parcel. So this proposed amendment would kind of unify the designation to employment, and the target employment center category would remain as the overlay as well. So in conclusion, the eastern portion is currently designated as office, while the western portion is currently employment, and this amendment would result in one designation of employment. The employment category is appropriate for the proposed use, and the proposed amendment either does not involve or would not significantly impact the remaining relevant countywide considerations. So therefore, we would recommend approval. Is there any questions about this case?
Are there any questions, concerns from anyone? All right. Seeing there are no questions or concerns from the board members, may I have a motion to proceed?
Madam Chair, may I state for the record that there are no citizens wishing to be heard on this matter, no opponents or proponents either.
I thought we covered that. But
Move
okay.
approval.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion passes. Okay, and now we are on item 5A2, case CW 24-13, City of St. Petersburg. Rodney, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Long and board members. Rodney Chapman, Division Manager with Fort Pinellas. We're going to deviate a little bit on this case, given that it's a bit of a different animal that you're not used to seeing every month. But before I get started, I want to acknowledge the thoughtful deliberations of the St. Pete City Council in helping us get to this point. Also want to acknowledge the work of the city staff that are here with us this afternoon, as well as the consultant team. I'll speak about the amount of work that has been done to date to get us to this point, but I want to first say this is a big deal. For us, one of the things that has been a challenge in my time here as a planning agency, and I often share this with the board, is we do various plans and studies, but the effectiveness of those plans and studies are oftentimes limited because those plans and studies have a set of recommendations. We can't force the cities or the county to take the mantle with those recommendations and implement them. So we have to use our power of persuasion and others to get the local governments to buy in to do the things that we think should be done to advance the vision that is supported for their cities and different parts of Pinellas County. So what we have before you today is an action that advances recommendations from not only the Sun Rising Development Study that we completed a few years ago, but also recommendations from the Target Employment Industrial Land Study update that we talked to you about for well over a year. With that, I will begin my remarks. So for those of you that are not familiar with the area, these are a few images of the 22nd Street, the greater 22nd Street South area, which is a very unique area, not only within the city of St. Petersburg, but in greater Pinellas County. It has a preponderance of industrial land uses. The Pinellas Trail does bifurcate part of the district, and the predominance of these industrial and manufacturing uses sort of harken back to the fact that this area used to have a railroad that went through it. So you had a lot of legacy industrial and manufacturing uses given the fact of the location of the railroad. But now it is a eclectic mix of commercial retail, community service, industrial, arts, and light manufacturing uses. There are some uses there that you may recognize, like Three Daughters Brewing, Brick Street Farms, Gina's Warehouse, the McClellan Art Gallery, and others. So there's been, as I mentioned before, there's been a many and a wide array of plans and studies that have been done in this area, and I wanted to just briefly highlight a couple of them that are relevant to today's action. I'll begin with the 2008 Target Employment Industrial Land Study. That study was an effort led by the Planning Council, which put preservation policies in place for industrial and employment lands, meaning that if you had lands that were one of those two designations, we would strongly discourage their conversion. So what that did in a lot of areas of Pinellas County is sort of locked certain uses in place, and it didn't allow for the natural evolution and deviation of development patterns that would be more in line with what the community would want to see. It would always be, well, the PPC won't allow that because these lands are designated as industrial. Roll forward about a decade, there was a partnership between the Warehouse Arts District, Deuces Live, and the City of St. Pete to develop an action plan in a way that was comprehensive and more supported of the current uses that were in the community as well as where the community wanted the district to go. That was then followed up a couple years later by some private sector efforts led by Place Projects. That's when the concept of iMix, or industrial mixed use, was sort of bantered about here in the planning community. A year later, St. Pete adopted their Vision 2050 plan. A year after that, then the Sunrunner Bus Rapid Transit Service opened. Around that same time, we then completed the Sunrunner Rising Development Study, and that was about a 2-year effort working with City of St. Pete, PSTA, and the City of South Pasadena. That study was crucial in helping to reimagine what the land uses were going to look like around those BRT station areas. But again, that was a study that included a lot of recommendations, but not a lot of teeth. Place Projects then followed up with some additional work in 2022, and then last year, this board adopted the TEALS update, which put in place another set of recommendations to sort of empower certain parts of the county to plan differently for these industrial and employment lands. So a little bit more about the Warehouse Arts District. You'll see there on the image to the upper left, the 2 yellow lines, which are meant to convey where the Sunrunner BRT currently operates and the station area that is located there at the center of that radius. When we did the development study, we looked at the traditional methodology, which is about a half mile around that station area footprint to determine what should land uses look like to be more transit supportive. But as we dug deeper into that question, we began to better understand that we probably need to look a little bit broader than just a half a mile, just because of the interconnected nature of this district, not only to the greater parts of the Warehouse Arts District, but also to the Deuces Live corridor that you see running north-south here, just south of the interstate. As I mentioned before, a lot of planning work has been done, a lot of workshops, charrettes, even a peer exchange, and that's what those images are meant to convey. The peer exchange was done last year. I believe some of the city staff and elected officials went to Atlanta to look at the new baseball stadium, but not only that, but also the Belt Line, to look at how properties were redeveloping along that trail, because there is a expectation that as the trail through this study area redevelops, it could redevelop in much the same way as those properties have redeveloped along the Belt Line. So in general terms, this action today would affect the parcels that you see there outlined and highlighted in green. It's about 58 acres and 137 parcels. Today's action would adopt an overlay. It would be an optional set of standards that developers and or property owners could take advantage of, while also having the ability to keep doing what they're doing now. So it's ability to maintain those existing development rights while also giving those that are interested in redevelopment the option to develop in a different way. That different way would include provisions for mixed use, artisanal, manufacturing, other uses that are supported by the community's vision. The plan also includes local definitions for target employment uses that are slightly different than what we have identified through our TILS update. There are adjustments to intensity standards, bonus provisions, and we also spend a lot of time talking with the staff about how is the best way to encourage mixed use, because there was a fear that if you open the door to residential, that you would have a wholesale residential change in this district. And so there are requirements in the plan that requires development to come alongside at the same time of the target employment uses, either with or before those types of uses are established. There are new land use definitions. There are 11 of them, and you see them on the bullet list to the left. The ones that are highlighted, I did that to show that the plan still acknowledges those target employment clusters that are important to us at a countywide level. So laboratories, R&D, different types of office, and so on are those target employment uses that we recognize here at the countywide level. The plan also does smartly adjust the city's approach to parking in this area, so they are applying their downtown parking standards within this special district. They are eliminating parking requirements for their local uses, but at the same time requiring that there be minimum bicycle parking. They will eliminate parking for small-scale non-residential uses, and so on. One of the other things that is a requirement of the plan is that the combined floor area for target employment uses would be 30% of the net lot area or 40% of the gross ground floor area, whichever is less. And that requirement was developed based on an analysis of what exists out in the community today. They also have further defined qualified target employment uses. Again, the ones in yellow are those uses that align significantly with and consistently with our target employment definitions, but also you'll see others that are more complementary and more unique to the Warehouse Arts District. So artisanal uses, some of the artist retreats, some food and beverage establishments, museums, and so on. One of the things the plan also does to further give the developers and property owners the ability to develop in a different way that's more transit-oriented is using a bonus structure to provide additional development rights depending on the developer and the property owner's interests. So the base floor area ratio, which you see here over on the graphic to the left, is a 1.5 FAR. And then there are options and abilities to go above that 1.5 up to a 5.0 max, depending on the inclusion of workforce housing, certain types of land uses, certain types of streetscape designs or street frontages, or accessibility to Pinellas Trail. There was also a lot of work done to ensure that the building height is achievable at that 5.0 FAR or floor area ratio. So you'll see with the map to the left the different heights based on where properties are, and you'll see that it ranges anywhere from 86 feet down to 35 feet. And the area in the blue at the 35-foot height limit is based on the area's adjacency to residential. So there were some strong considerations given to ensuring that those properties would be compatible and consistent with existing residential to the west. We also looked at the employment capacity of this area, and based on the projections that we have in the 2050 long-range plan work, we are projecting about a 75% increase in jobs in this area by 2050. And then we had the team conduct some analysis to better understand what kind of redevelopment potential there would be if these standards are put in place. And it was a bit of a challenge because we're talking about an optional overlay, so you can't just assume that nothing's going to redevelop, but at the same time, you can't assume everything's going to redevelop. So the team developed a few different scenarios, a low scenario, a medium, and a high, and you'll see that some assumptions were made and which yielded a potential increase in population on the low end about 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 residents up to about 2,700 based on the assumptions that you see there. So again, the map color is not changing. This action would, in other words, adopt that overlay that I've just briefed you on. And we've determined that this request meets all of our relevant countywide considerations, and we are recommending approval.
Thank you so much, Rodney. Are there any questions or concerns on this project from the board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to hear from Gina.
Thank you. I'd like for you to hear from me.
I'm sorry, and the other St. Pete folks. I didn't mean to just pick you out.
Yeah. Thank you. This is something that I myself have been involved in since 2019. It's very clear that as our city is growing and modernizing, it's time for us to look at modernizing that zoning to go along with it. In the Warehouse Arts District in particular, it is industrial land, always has been, and what we're asking for today is to have the flexibility to do more and to do more of what we want in St. Pete. We still make things in St. Pete, but today we're making beer, we're making art. You're making things using computers. It's not that heavy polluting industrial of the past. The other thing is that we do still make things, but this is an area where people want to live there too. People more and more want to work, want to live near where they work. And we have such an incredible opportunity to show a perfect example of transit-oriented development in this area, because not only is it within easy walking distance to the Sunrunner, but it also has the Pinellas Trail going through it. That's why City Council spent a lot of time on talking about the parking and what would be needed for that, and how do you balance certain need for parking with the fact that this is transit-oriented development. And I think with the heavier reliance on on bicycles and the opportunities for people to get around easily on bike, we have come up with a really great balance for parking for automobiles and for bicycles. The subject area that you see, it's kind of different when you're doing an overlay. I mean, we're used to seeing a square when we're talking about zoning, right? But this actually is a great way to show you just how much thought has been put into this. That's why it's not a perfect square. We want this to be very intentional. It's an area where you want to use a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. We've done just that. Sometimes it does take longer, but it's also how you get to the right place. And it's how we have figured out how to put the right uses in the right places within this district. So I did want to point out that a lot of the property within this area is actually vacant land, and it has been for a very long time. This is going to give us the opportunity to develop it in a way that is sustainable and appropriate for the neighborhood. And the adjacent neighborhood just to the west of the subject area has been very supportive. In fact, they actually don't think we're doing enough. They think we should have taller buildings and less parking and parking maximums and things like that. City Council's job is to find that reasonable middle, and that's where we've landed. This has tremendous support from the business community as well as the residential, the neighbors around this area. And I'm really, really proud of the work that's been done, all of the studies, and it's all led us to this point right here. So I hope that you'll join me in supporting this so that we can move forward with allowing the next great neighborhood in St. Petersburg to move forward. Thank you.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Do we need a roll call vote? Tina,
No, Madam Chair, but I would like to point out that there are no citizens, opponents, or proponents wishing to be heard on this item.
Well, thank you for saying that. I was just getting ready to ask Mr. First if he would like to speak. Let's hear from him before we take the final vote. We're in discussion.
I wasn't expecting to be called on, but hello, everybody. My name is Joseph First, address at 423rd Street South in St. Petersburg. I just want to take a moment and echo Gina's comments. We've been hard at work on this over the last 5 years. There's other St. Pete City Council members here who have obviously been integrally involved in all of these proposed changes. But the thing that I'm most proud of, and this is obviously a moment where I hope there's great support and enthusiasm and really a celebration, is the work that staff has done both at the City of St. Pete level and of course at Forward Pinellas. This has definitely been a marathon. But the good news about the marathon is it really ensured that the entire community, residents, stakeholders, just interested people, really understood the process and what was taking place. And the support has only been continuing to mount and rise from the very beginning of these conversations. So to me, this is actually just a moment of great pride. Yes, I'm a landowner there. Yes, I've been a spokesperson on behalf of the many constituents that have wanted to see this take place. So this is really just a moment of pride and great appreciation for everybody's hard work that has been really in the weeds on this for the last 5+ years. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I would just like to go on the record by saying we're grateful that you've been able to stick with it and keep on pursuing since it has taken so long. So thank you for that. It's going to make our county a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you, Joe. Anyone else for the good of the order?
Okay.
No? Eric.
First of all, I think it's a wonderful plan, and I'm really excited to vote in favor. I have one question, though, because I'm not as familiar with that area. The point where 22nd Street South, 23rd Street South, where they intersect with I-275, is there an underpass there? Is that an overpass? So it's not at grade, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only question.
Okay.
I thought it was, but I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one? Well, we have a first and a second, so all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Very fine, Joe. Look at that. We got it over the finish line. Hooray. Okay, now we are on lost my place here. Thank you. We're on the PSTA activity report. Gina?
Thank you. I actually have two from June that I'd like to share with you today. But first, we haven't had a board meeting since yesterday's when we got some incredible news. The PSTA has been awarded a federal grant in the amount of $27.8 million to go toward for 16 buses. 12 of them would be electric, 4 are hybrid, along with the charging systems to go with it. And it also includes funding for hiring and for workforce training to go along with those new buses. This is the largest competitive grant that PSTA has ever received in its history. It is huge. It's also the largest amount that was awarded to in the state of Florida. So it was extremely competitive. Only about, I think, 25% of the applicants received any funding at all. And for PSTA to receive that really speaks to, I think, the leadership of PSTA. And so big kudos to CEO Brad Miller for his leadership on this, but also the collaborative spirit that he had, working with other areas in Florida because it was kind of a joint grant. And right now, what that means for us is right now there are 8 electric buses that are on the streets for PSTA. I think by the end of the year, we're supposed to have 20. Dave, if you happen to correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 20.
I think it's closer to 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to dramatically increase the number of electric buses and dramatically decrease the number of diesel buses, which we're trying to replace all of those diesel buses as soon as possible. This is really going to go a long way. So I wanted to share that with anyone who hadn't heard about it so far. It is just incredible and really points out why PSTA was named by the American Public Transportation Association as the best transit agency in the nation. We're really leading the way on a lot of fronts through PSTA, and this is just great. Great cause for celebration. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and give a thanks out to Congresswoman Kathy Castor, who really helped to lead us with this process. So,
good job.
Yeah, so big news on that.
Well, Gina?
Yes?
Not to, add to your already existing glow about the success, I would also like to share with everyone that this does not come without all the hard work that you have done in D.C. to share with the elected officials at the Department of Transportation why this is so needed in our county. So thank you for all the hard work you have done.
Thank you. Thanks. Aw, I appreciate that. Well, when you really believe in something, it's easy. It's a lot easier, and you do what it takes to make it happen. Let's see. The PSTA board met last on June 26, 2024, and following a presentation from the staff, the board approved a new a legal services agreement with Bryant Miller Olive, and then the board also received a presentation on the PSTA's FY25 budget, which is in progress now. Happy to report that it does not include any service cuts for the upcoming fiscal year. the budget does include a proposal to increase the monthly fare cap from $75, which is what it's at right now, to $85 per month, and also to increase the mobility on demand fares. So just some very precise increases there. It also includes options for potential new services, including 34th Street South Premium Transit and service to St. Pete Clearwater Airport, which there's a lot of support for that right now. And then also ferry services, which could see an expansion in the future. So that's all I have for PSTA. The next board meeting will take place on July 31st at 9 a.m.
Well, I just would like to share with you, so you can share with your board members, the projections for additional passengers at Pi is 1 million more for this coming year. So I really appreciate the work PSTA is doing, trying to take folks out to the beaches and places that they want to go once they land.
Right.
That's important too.
Right. And it makes the airport popular, even more popular as it's growing to have that service. So
Right.
it's a win all around.
It is. So thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yes, Will.
Hi, yes.
Mayor Will.
For Gina, I'm looking for some clarification. I understand that not all of the municipalities in Pinellas County participate in PSTA.
That's right.
Okay, so then the ones that do pay a millage rate, is that correct? There's a millage rate
Yes.
of 0.75?
Yes.
And the ones that don't pay the millage rate?
No, but I would like to share with you, they still benefit from the service.
Oh, I'm not-
'cause the
I'm just
buses
kidding.
don't go around those places.
I'm not,
Right.
I'm getting some clarification. So what is the procedure for a community that decided it didn't want to participate anymore? What would be that process?
Well, that's a great question, to which I do not have the answer.
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I'm
Oh,
just
but
looking for
I'm-
that clarification.
I think our much more experienced
It
Commissioner
would
Long.
require a local bill that goes to the Florida legislature.
Good, so through our Pinellas delegation, would do a local bill, and then that would go to the legislature.
Yes, because PSTA was originally established through a local bill.
Right. And at that time, I understand you had the option to join or not join,
Correct.
but then, once you're in, is there an exit route? And you're telling me it's through the local
Probably
delegation?
just the
The local
probably the
delegation,
same.
and then go through, so there is an exit route, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
There is an exit route if a community decided to go that way.
Well, I think there's probably an exit route for almost anything that goes on. You
Well,
just
right,
have to
and I
figure
just
out what it is.
wasn't sure what it was, that's why I'm looking for that clarification.
And it would also probably require a referendum,
Well, then we'll have to investigate that further.
because when they originally implemented PSTA with the local bill, it was passed by referendum.
Okay. Thank you very much for the
You're welcome.
information.
Eric?
Do you know what percentage of the PSTA fleet will be electric or hybrid once you achieve that 20 or 30? I mean, is it replacing half of the fleet, or, do you have any idea?
Let me think. We have around 200 buses right now. I'm looking at Commissioner Albritton because he serves on the board as well, in case I get something wrong. But we have around 200 buses right now. So this is going to put us
10 to 15%.
right.
Because we're replacing the initial 60 buses need to be replaced. So that's what, we've already have funding to get a start on that. Mike, please. Oh, I'm sorry. This is additional funding that we got, which will actually get us there quicker, so.
So between FTA and then also Volkswagen settlement money, we've been able to purchase electric buses along the way.
I think it's
So
great.
I think we have the funding, before this, I think we have the funding for a total of 60 altogether, and so this gives us
Upwards of
an
90
additional
last year.
16. So, yeah, so we're making really good progress towards that goal.
Great.
And saving tens of thousands of dollars in fuel costs. And we're seeing that reflected now in the budget. We're starting to see a real difference in that. Yeah, good stuff. If anyone else has questions, I'd be happy to answer or
Anything
attempt to.
else?
All right.
I'll
Thank
just
you, Madam Chair.
Point out that Ford Pinellas does contribute about $1.5 million every year towards PSTA electric vehicle purchases and charging equipment as well. So that's a decision this board has made for recurring charges, just FYI. And one other augmentation to your good note there, we have a meeting on, I believe, August 8th with the airport CEO and staff, with Brad Miller and Darden Wrights as well, to talk about that potential startup service from St. Pete Clearwater International Airport to the beach. So we're looking forward to figuring out how to make that work and make that happen, and looking at the opportunities for the airport to host some type of service.
Okay. Now we are on item 6B, the regional activity report. Is that you, Whit?
Yep, I'll take this one. Just a little update on the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, and a reminder that that is our regional organization of MPOs that collaborates through the Tampa Bay area, from Citrus Hernando down to Sarasota Manatee and east to Polk County. We had a meeting on June 14th, and the SCTPA serves an important function because it is a required organization to allow us to be eligible for transportation regional incentive programs, funding for projects. So the SCTPA adopted the Transportation Regional Incentive Program, or TRIP, priority list of transportation projects, and that has some direct benefits to Pinellas County in terms of intelligent transportation systems projects. A portion of the Gateway Expressway that's newly opened was funded with TRIP dollars. In addition, the SCTPA also adopted a regional multi-use trails priority list. So as we look to connect our regional trail network, the Pinellas Trail and the Coast to Coast Trail, we are also tying into the Gulf Coast Trail, which travels all the way down to Collier County. It's not 100% complete. There are segments of it, but having that overall roadmap is important. Following the SCTPA meeting, the SCTPA met with the Central Florida MPO Alliance. This meeting was in Bartow in Polk County, and we had joint presentations. You have a summary of the meeting in your agenda packet. I did want to highlight that the main action was to ask for support of a joint resolution for passenger rail service in the I-4 corridor. That passed unanimously, and this board had already approved the statement upon which the resolution was based. Essentially, it calls for investment in state funds to Amtrak as part of intercity passenger rail service, and support for Brightline coming to at least Tampa, and then having connections into Pinellas County as well. All 10 MPOs along the I-4 corridor were reflected in that unanimous vote. We are looking at ways to work with some additional partners to add signatories to that resolution and have those in place prior to the legislative session. So we're going to explore some ways about doing that, but I think it's an important first step. It doesn't necessarily explicitly say that we expect the state to step up and fund all this, but the state does have a passenger rail system plan. This is reflected in that passenger rail system plan, and we'd like to see components of that advance. That's essentially what the resolution conveys. And you probably have to start regionally if you're going to have any kind of passenger rail service serving Pinellas County. Are there any questions about the regional activities report?
No?
Okay.
All right. And now we have Chelsea Favero to talk about the draft cost feasible plan. Good afternoon, Chelsea.
Good afternoon. All right. So when we talk about the long-range transportation plan, we're really planning for the future of mobility here in Pinellas County. And planning for mobility here is a lot different than in even our neighboring counties. You think about Hillsborough or Pasco. In the morning, everyone's kind of going in one direction. In the afternoon, they're going in the other direction. Well, because we are the most densely populated and we have 25 different local governments, here in Pinellas, everyone is going in every direction at all times of the day. So it makes planning a little bit more complicated. And instead of, in addition to our 980,000 residents, we also have 15 million annual visitors that we're also trying to plan for. Over the next 25 years, we do plan to add about 120,000 additional residents and 80,000 new jobs. And this is where the importance of the long-range transportation plan comes in, because we're not just planning for now, we also need to look towards the future. Advantage Pinellas is the long-range plan. It's really identifies the transportation projects that we plan to invest in over the course of the next 20 years. We develop a new one every 5 years because we know that policies change, growth patterns change, development patterns change, even technology changes. So if a project is not included in this plan, it is not eligible for state or federal funding. So that's why we develop a new one every so often to make sure that we're still heading in the right direction. And this is where we're at right now. We began the development of the 2050 plan last spring with our population and employment projections. Over the summer and fall of last year, we started running some transportation models to help us predict where there would be challenges with mobility on our transportation network, and we do that as a region. It's not just Pinellas County. We work together with all the counties around us to do that. And we've spent the last several months identifying revenues and identifying the projects that we believe will meet our needs and balancing them. And what is in your packet today is the first draft of what we believe is going to be the cost feasible plan. It is a draft, I will say that. Even yesterday morning, changes were made to what is in front of you today. So it's a very iterative process. We're going to spend the next couple of months continuing to balance out all of those projects against our revenues. You'll see another draft of this at your September meeting, and then we'll have it ready for you for adoption in October. Starting with our population employment projections, again, it's important looking towards the future because it helps us identify where people are and where they may be going to, traveling for work or for recreation. So we worked very closely with all 25 local governments to come up with these projections out to 2050. As you can see on the map, they're really concentrated in our activity centers like downtown St. Petersburg or the Gateway area, but also spread along the US 19 corridor, the areas where we worked with our local governments to identify were the most prime for redevelopment and future growth. And we didn't just come up with the projects that you see before you in a vacuum. We have done an extensive amount of public outreach over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, including conducting a statistically valid survey of the public. This was done in early 2023, and since then, all of the outreach that we've done have really validated and backed up these results. So we've seen strong support for roadways to have space for all users. More than 70% of people wanted this or stated that their ideal neighborhood has a variety of land uses within a 10-minute walk. And people here like diversity and they want options to get around their communities. So we used all of that feedback and the statistically valid survey. We've been out setting up tables and talking to people. We were at Localtopia in St. Petersburg. We were at an event in the city of Oldsmar. We've been up to Tarpon Springs. We've been all over the county to talk to people. And this is where we start with our cost feasible plan. So these three that you see up here on the screen, these three kind of buckets of funding, is what we're proposing to take off the top. There are a number of different sources of revenue available to us for the development of the cost feasible plan, but one of the most flexible sources of funding is called Surface Transportation Block Grant funding. It is incredibly flexible. It can be used for any number of things. And so this is really the pot that Ford Pinellas as an MPO has the ability to have influence over. So the first thing that we're proposing to set aside is about $5 million annually, and this number may change, this is just where we're starting at, for local government construction projects. This line item in the current plan is used for the Complete Streets projects, where we provide $1.5 million annually to our local governments. We spoke with you, I believe it was last month, about broadening that program, so it's not just complete streets, but other transportation projects as the local governments see fit. We believe we can increase that. We're going to start by providing $3 million this year to our local governments to help offset some of the costs that they incur trying to improve transportation within their communities. I will say that this pot of funding does have a lot of restrictions attached to it. Local governments that want to access this funding have to be certified through a federal program that, quite honestly, most of our local governments cannot do. They just don't have the staff capacity in order to get certified through that program. So this funding will predominantly be open to St. Petersburg, Largo, Clearwater, Dunedin, Tarpon Springs, our larger local governments that have the ability to take on those projects. But we do believe we could provide up to $5 million annually for those projects. Another off the top is transit capital. This says 1 million. I apologize. It's actually 1.5. It's correct in your packet, but wrong on the slide. So this would continue to provide $1.5 million annually to PSTA for capital, for their capital expenditures, purchasing new buses, charging equipment, station enhancements, transit signal priority in corridors where that is deemed to be a good use. So this would remain as an off the top. And the third bullet that's up there, this is something that our agency has not done before. These are FDOT RRR, really just means resurfacing projects. And we are proposing to set aside funding to enhance FDOT resurfacing projects. The last several years, when a road was coming up to be resurfaced, the department would come to us and let us know and ask if we had anything that we wanted them to include or take a special look at, and then they would go ahead and tack those onto the project. Maybe it was an enhanced crossing or a little bit of a wider sidewalk in those areas. Given the state of inflation and the cost of everything going up, the department has struggled to maintain the ability to provide those extras while also maintaining their resurfacing program. So the department has had to scale back on providing those extras. So what we'd like to do is set aside a certain amount of funding, about $4 million is what we're working with right now, to annually augment those resurfacing projects. FDOT roadways are predominantly what is on our high injury network. These are wide roadways. They are not the safest for anyone, automobiles, pedestrians, cyclists. So we really feel that augmenting these projects with some additional safety enhancements will help improve safety for all of our communities and also really be an efficient use of funds since the department will already be out there doing a project. So these are the three off the top. Oh, sorry, wrong clicker. All right, for our transit projects in the long-range plan, because the long-range plan considers all modes of transportation. The costs are still under development. We're working very closely with PSTA's finance team to identify those costs. But what we are assuming is that the existing system will be cost feasible. We are not assuming any new revenues for transit for the life of the LRTP, Long-Range Transportation Plan. However, should additional funding be realized, then that funding would be directed to the corridors and the intermodal centers. Those are the little buses that you see up on the screen. Because we're recognizing that connecting to Brightline, connecting to the airports, reinvesting in the corridors that already have some of the highest ridership just makes sense. So this is where it would be invested. The CSX corridor is included with this, along with the Alt 19 corridor. I noticed that the shading is a little bit lighter, so those don't jump out as quickly, so I just wanted to note that for everyone here.
Chelsea, would you clarify about the CSX? Is that part of the cost feasible plan or not?
It is not part of the cost feasible plan because that would be above and beyond, but it's identified for a future area for investment. In terms of active transportation, the costs in the long-range plan, and these are all present-day costs, we have $84.6 million set aside for active transportation projects. All 10 trails or active transportation corridors that are up on the screen are determined to be cost feasible, so we can reasonably assume we'll be able to afford them between now and 2050. With the 2045 plan, we had identified 4 overpasses for construction. Since that time, a cost of an overpass has risen from about $6 million to about $9 million. So what we're proposing with this plan is that we keep 2 overpasses in the plan, one at Roosevelt 28th near the Carillon Center, and the other at Gandy and 4th Street. That'll link into the Pinellas Trail Loop and also to the trail coming off of the Howard Franklin Bridge. The remainder of funding, about $13.5 million, we'd like to set aside for other active transportation intersection improvements. Instead of putting all of that funding on maybe 1.5 overpasses, $13.5 million could go a long way to improving some of our existing trail crossings and improving safety throughout the county. In terms of our roadways, the current costs are $495.7 million for our roadway projects. This comes with a very strong caveat. The SIS, or the Strategic Intermodal System, which includes US 19 and the 275 corridor, are not included in those cost estimates. Once we include those, the cost will be closer to $2 billion. The state of Florida provides the recommendations for the SIS corridors and what those projects are, what their cost estimates will be, and we're still waiting to hear from them the details of those projects. We actually got some information yesterday that we're working with, so by the time you see this again, all of that will be included, but for now, they're on the map because we know there's a project there, but they're not included in that total. So when we ran through all of the other roadway projects that we had, state roads, county roads, we deferred to the Pinellas County and their phasing timelines. We do have some city roadway projects in there. We ended up with about $79.4 million that had yet to be allocated. Again, this doesn't include SIS, and this does include those off the tops already allocated. So 79.4 might seem like a lot of money. It could probably replace a needed bridge. However, that funding is not all in one year. That funding is a couple $1 million this year, a few $1 million that year. It's a pretty small amount of money spread out over the life of the plan. And there's some ways that we could address that to account for those funds in the plan. One option could be additional funding to supplement those RRR or resurfacing projects on state roads. A benefit of this the projects would be on the state highway system, so the local governments wouldn't have to manage those projects, yet they would see the benefit within their communities. Another option could be increasing funding for our local government projects. A trade-off of that is that LAP program, local agency program, that's the certification needed to access those funds. Most of our local governments can't touch those funds. And also, it's increased responsibility for our local governments to manage all of that funding. We've actually heard from our local governments that they would not like to see this happen because they already have a lot of staffing concerns and constraints, and just throwing more money at them will not necessarily solve the problem. And then the third option is to leave the balance for unforeseen needs. And this is what staff is actually recommending at this time. Every year when we do our priority list, projects come up. They may come up seemingly out of nowhere, or there's a long-standing need that didn't have a project identified for it, and that project becomes identified. And there is a need for those surface transportation dollars to help augment existing projects and new projects to get them over the finish line. If we allocate 100% of those revenues towards new projects, we might not have enough to finish projects that have been in the pipeline for a long time. So we're recommending that we leave some wiggle room to make sure that our priorities can be funded. In terms of next steps, we're going to continue to refine the costs and the timeframes. We're kicking off our next phase of public involvement in the next couple of weeks, where these maps with all the projects are going to be posted online. It'll be interactive. The public can click on each project, get information on that project, leave comments on the project, so that by the time we bring this back to you in the fall, we have received all the public information or public feedback on what we're doing. We've addressed all the comments. You'll get a final draft in September, and then we'll have adoption in October. So today, I'm happy to ask any questions that you may have. And then we're also asking for action to open a public comment period officially so that we can start getting feedback on this draft cost feasible plan. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, anybody, concerns, anything? Good job, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an action item.
Well then, may I have?
Move to open public comment.
It's been moved and seconded. And do we have any public comment, Tina?
Okay. David Ballard Geddes Jr.
David Ballard Geddes Jr., Georgia Avenue, Palm Harbor. During the presentation, there seemed to be a large loophole in that presentation for the funding of possible resurfacing to include maybe more roundabouts, and with that resurfacing proposal, there doesn't seem to be a very big interest in overpasses that have been needed on US 19 for decades. So as we're going to be putting in roundabouts, such as the ones that we have in Palm Harbor, which is a disaster, something behind that roundabout in Palm Harbor that seems to have a hidden or shadowed intent behind that roundabout in Palm Harbor. I don't feel as though appropriating money for speed waves in neighborhoods, roundabouts throughout Pinellas County in light of neglecting overpasses on US 19 is a legitimate way of appropriating money. We need overpasses and we need to facilitate emergency vehicles. Roundabouts don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to address that if I can. We are currently building an overpass on US 19 at Curlew Road. We have plans to build another overpass at Tampa Road. And we are working with the Department of Transportation and the City of Tarpon Springs and the Palm Harbor community to address additional overpasses at Nebraska, Alderman, Klosterman. That's working through the process. As Chelsea mentioned, the strategic intermodal system covers US 19, and we don't have that plan yet from the state of Florida, but we fully expect the US 19 north sections to be financially feasible.
Thank you, Whit, for that clarification. That's important to let everybody know. Rodney?
Madam Chair, you have a first and a second, but need a vote still on the cost feasible.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor on the cost feasible plan, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to approve, hopefully, the FY25 PPC budget and millage rate. Rodney?
Yes, that's the goal. Let's jump right into it. So you've heard me for several months talk about budget assumptions, outlooks, and projections and guidelines that we've been operating under this budget season. And we're about at the finish line for this part of the process with the board. So just a few updates. Begin with the latest projections from the Property Appraiser's Office, and they are projecting now to see about a 9.3% increase in property tax revenues in fiscal year 25. When I briefed you last month, we spoke a little bit about the budget information session conversation that we had with the County Commission and the follow-up meeting we had scheduled with Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Peters' aide. We had that meeting, and it was a fruitful discussion, but in the lead up to that meeting, we went back and analyzed our numbers a little more closely and came to or at least making a point that it looks like we did have the ability to absorb a millage rate reduction. So we discussed this scenario with Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Peters' aide at our meeting last week, and we are now prepared to recommend a reduction in the millage rate from 0.0210 to 0.0200. And as you see there on the slide, the rollback rate is projected to be a little bit less than that at 0.0195. The compensation strategy is, as was shared last month, with a salary increase and a one-time supplement. Those figures will change. It hasn't been solidified with the county commission or county administration, but some version of that will be adopted, and that's baked into the numbers. The intergovernmental service charges have also been finalized. So again, we are recommending a slight reduction in the millage rate, and there's a few reasons for that. One is, even with the reduction in the millage rate, we still would be sitting on about 2.6 million or so in reserves. And just as a point of reference, with that with the projected increase in property tax revenues, the PPC is projected to receive about $2.4 million. So that 2.6 is generally about a year's worth of revenue. We have gone back again, as I mentioned earlier, and looked at our personnel costs and refined those, and that's resulted in some additional savings. And the third thing that I wanted to share is that with this new budget scenario, we feel that there's capacity for one new project in fiscal year 25. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. So the revenues in total, which includes property tax revenues, the reimbursements from the MPO for staff salaries and benefits, local assistance and interest, total about $3.9 million. On the expenses side, which includes things like professional services, those intergovernmental service charges, contingency, and so on, total about $4.3 million. And you'll notice that means we're dipping into that reserve account about $400,000 to draw that down to be able to balance the budget this year. As some of you have been on the board for a while, have heard me talk pretty much every year about intergovernmental service charges and the fact that they have escalated over time. So you'll see in the chart to the right where the numbers began in 2018, which was about $90,000, and it's pretty consistent escalation over a period of time to now, where in 2024 we will be paying about $420,000 for those services we get from Pinellas County. We are able to maintain about 3 months of operating expenses in that contingency line item. And again, as I mentioned before, the reserve balance is quite healthy at $2.6 million. Now I want to pivot to getting the board's input on potentially selecting a new project for fiscal year 25. And one of the things that we looked at in developing this list was trying to capture some options for the board's consideration that would help us advance some of the recommendations from our policy work, much like I mentioned earlier with the St. Pete case and the TEALS and Sun Runner Rising Development Study. So the first potential new project would be working with potentially the cities of Pinellas Park and Largo to adopt those target employment center subcategories. Much like the city of St. Pete action earlier today, this work would entail working with those two communities to adopt those recommended subcategories in their community. That's what those colors on the map to the left are meant to convey. As you probably remember, there are now recommendations for these cities to adopt subcategories of the Target Employment Center designation in order to better encourage either Class A office or industrial users. The second project would be working with the funding partners that were part of the Gateway Master Plan, that being the county, City of St. Pete, Largo, and Pinellas Park, to adopt various comprehensive plan and land development regulations to implement the recommendations from the Gateway Master Plan. The fact of the matter is, after that plan was adopted, we entered into a 10-year memorandum of understanding with each of the planning partners to work together to collectively advance those recommendations, and we're about in year 4 of the 10-year MOU, and not a lot has been done by the local governments to move those recommendations forward. So this work would move that along and hopefully come to some completion before the end of the MOU. The third project idea would be to work with the City of Largo and PSTA on advancing some analysis to identify a transit station and mobility hub along the Route 19 corridor. We have been meeting pretty regularly with the Largo staff on implementing some of those plans, some of the plan's recommendations. But what has risen to the surface is the city manager and city leadership's desire, I'll say, to work towards establishing a true transit center in Largo. And if you think about what's there in St. Pete and Grand Central, it's sort of like that, but not necessarily. The city manager has spoken to us about having a true mixed-use development transit center where you would have the transit services there on the ground floor, but have either retail, commercial, or residential, or some other supporting uses at this new transfer center. And then the fourth project idea would be to work with the city of Clearwater and PSTA to help better understand and plan for greater levels of mobility in downtown Clearwater. This would be somewhat similar to the work we did with City of St. Pete in looking at their downtown for needed improvements. So again, just in summary, the first project idea would be a TILS update recommendations, implementation. The second would be working with the cities to implement the Gateway Master Plan recommendations. The third is the Alt 19 work in Largo. And fourth is the mobility study in Clearwater. I asked our group to give me some input on what they would recommend to the board. And the conclusion was that the Gateway Master Plan recommendations is probably the most important, given a couple of reasons. One, the fact that we are 4 years into a 10-year MOU. And secondly, there is a lot of overlap with the Gateway area and the TILS update recommendations, meaning there are some concepts that are in the Gateway Master Plan that can't be realized without adopting some of those target employment center subcategories. So again, the staff's recommendation would be for that project number 2. So at this point, be looking for any input from the board on the 4 choices before you, or do you have something else that you think we should?
Rodney, I'd just like to clarify maybe for the downtown mobility for the city of Clearwater, the Florida Department of Transportation would be a key partner for that, given the state roads that go through downtown.
Madam Chairman. No, Will?
I think
It's okay.
Julie was.
Go ahead.
I have a question regarding the millage. So you're recommending the rollback to 0.020.
Yep.
And the full rollback is 0.0195.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason for not utilizing the full rollback?
Well, we felt like there needs to be a acknowledgement of the ability of the Planning Council's millage to fluctuate over time. So if you go back to 94, 95, it has ebbed and flowed, it's risen, it's fallen based on a lot of different factors. We are concerned that by reducing the millage too low, we could have some issues with a reduction in property values. We are fortunate here in Pinellas County, I'll give you an example. We're fortunate here in Pinellas County where we've had a pretty substantial increase in property values for as long as I can remember. But I was just reading an article a little while ago about a city in our Orange County, city of Maitland. They are actually projecting a decrease in property tax revenues. And I like to be very conservative, and I don't feel that comfortable if we go back to the rollback that if something untoward were to happen either this year or in the next couple of years, that we'd be in a position to be able to absorb that revenue reduction. Again, we are a separate appointing authority, so we don't have the backstop of the county. And we felt like having that millage rate reduction does show that we can deliver some relief to the taxpayer, but at the same time, safeguarding our operations against future unforeseen situations.
Right. Just add, if I can, Mayor. Can I just add one quick question?
Sure, go right ahead.
Just the other point is the uncertainty of the potential merger of the MPOs. We're unsure if that's going to be an independent organization or it'll be a hosted organization like we are now. And we've got a commitment from the Florida Department of Transportation to help with some funding for a startup consulting activities to help with that. But if we actually pull the trigger on merging by 26, we're going to need some reserves probably to help contribute to that, or else we'll have to go to the county to contribute that. So having some reserves for that flexibility we thought was prudent.
Sure. Just the 0.020 and 0.0195, as close as they are. That's my point as to why not utilize the full rollback. And also, several slides ago, we have healthy reserves.
Yes, and Mayor Will, you're correct. It's a policy decision of the county commission on what that adjustment is going to look like. And we do have some analysis looking at various millage rate scenarios, but this is the scenario we thought was a safe and supportable one for us, given all these factors.
Gina? Julie?
Okay. I was getting there. Did I hear you say that the recommended project was number 2?
Yes.
From the staff?
Yes.
Okay. I tend to agree with that because that's been going on for a number of years and we should get it done. And this is only the PPC side, so it's only a planning side. It's not the MPO side.
That's right. These are Pinellas Planning Council revenues. They could be augmented with MPO funds
Right.
if there's a clear transportation connection.
The other question I had is, if you go back a slide or two where it talks about the, our allocations that we have to pay, county?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have a reason why it went up $100,000 in a year? Because I'd like to know the answer to that, because this has been an ongoing problem. Because the county or county commissioners and their staff are asking us to do a rollback, but yet they're charging us more allocation money to pay for computers and things that I'm sure weren't that much different last year. So I'd like to know why it went up $100,000.
Candidly, Mayor, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. I was telling Whit, that's been one of the more frustrating parts about this roll and process. We start with a kickoff on the cost allocation plan. So a plan is developed every year by OMB and their consultant on what these charges are going to be. And this year, there was a calendar appointment that was set for a couple months ago that was supposed to sit down with all of us and go through these charges. And that meeting was canceled, rescheduled, and then canceled. And then we get the notification that this is the number, without any insight on or background on how the numbers were arrived.
I mean, I would just like to go on record that that's it's a big number without an explanation. And B, if we have county folks, which I'm not, repeating who they are, asking us to do a rollback, but increasing our costs at the same time, I guess what sense does that make? And I understand, we've got reserves. I get it. I get the whole sounds good of the rollback thing. How many extra projects did we have? When we were talking about this at the last meeting, it was about we had no new projects this coming year, correct?
Yes.
What's our average number of new projects we have each year? 2 or 3?
I don't know if we could say an average number, but I would say
Would you say 2 or 3
there's
is
usually
reasonable?
2 or 3 initiatives that happen each year
That are new?
that come up,
Yeah.
and we probably spend $200,000 to $400,000 on those.
My point is we've got 4 projects that are, I got to assume they're in some need or another. We're doing 2 or 3 projects every year. We're now only doing 1. We're doing a rollback, and the counties raised their allocation fees. It doesn't sound like a really good story for us. On top of the fact, we're in the high, as I'm sure everybody understands in their own budgets, our cost of living increases for our own personal selves and everybody else has gone up. It's no different for government. I have no solution to that. I'll leave it up to you guys, but I just want to point out the glaring things for people who maybe have not been on this board as long as some of us have. Thank you.
And I should know the answer for that, but I don't. But I am more than happy to find out later on today.
Thank you.
And I'll report back. Yes, Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing that information. We need to know what those extra charges are for, and I'm really glad that Mayor Brzezowski pointed out the obvious that charging more than asking for a rollback is, it's curious. Of the new projects, can you tell us a little bit more about project number 2? Is the only reason that staff is recommending that one because it's the oldest one, or?
It's a combination, so that's definitely one factor, because you may remember, some of you have been on board for a while, that was one of the original Spotlight projects that we initiated back in 2015, 2016, 17. And we are almost halfway through the MOU term. And one of the things that we have seen just here recently is the plan included the identification of certain catalytic properties or sites. So properties that, if developed in a certain way, could really serve as a way to ignite other redevelopment around the Gateway area. One of those properties that we identified way back then, believe it or not, was the new County Government Center site. And there was a conceptual layout, a mix of uses, some transit accessibility, a lot of things that went along with that conceptual master plan. And the reality is none of that implementing work was done. So now that key catalytic site is going to probably redevelop in a different way that doesn't necessarily advance the vision of the Gateway Master Plan. And I use that as an example to illustrate the fact that it's better for us to work with the cities to put these regulations in place in advance of development coming, as opposed to having a project, fall in the city's lap, basically, City of Largo in this instance, and then the city having to find a way to sort of massage their regulations to allow a certain use to happen that may not be in complete alignment with the master plan. And there's several catalytic sites that were identified in the master plan. And so we think it's of the utmost importance to make sure that those regulations are in place so that when development does come, it does develop, the properties do develop in a way that's consistent with the Gateway Master Plan.
Okay. Eric? Thank you for that. And did you rank the others?
No, we just said, okay, out of these 4, what.
Okay, I didn't know if it was a ranked.
I mean, there's pros and cons perhaps with all of these. I can give some critiques of all 4 of these, but that's the Gateway Master Plan was the one that had sort of accomplished a couple of different objectives under one project.
They all sound like great projects and with potential for a lot of benefit. But I understand your point about Gateway, and it needs to get done. So the time issue makes sense. So, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Floyd?
Thank you. I'll just be brief because everyone sort of belabored the points a little bit about the 4 projects. I came here wanting to talk more about the teal stuff because I feel really good about it lately and want to see it move forward. But it was actually something else you said. Yeah, the time frame is concerning about project number 2, but also that it's in a teals area.
Yes, it is.
And, it can, sort of dovetail into teals work in the future. And so I feel pretty good about project number 2, and I appreciate you pointing that out. So that's all. Thank you.
Nice. Commissioner Gerard?
Thank you. First of all, I understand completely, the import of the Gateway Master Plan. I think it's necessary. I think we're well into that 10-year period, and we need to get to work on that. But I do want to say that the project number 3, the alternate 19 bus transit station in Largo, is important, as that Largo is the first segment of the Advantage Alternate 19 plan, and that transit station is an important ingredient in that, and especially because it's going to tie it, just speaking, colloquially, it ties in with Largo's West Bay Drive Community Redevelopment District and contributes to the need for affordable and workforce housing in that area. I really do want to thank Mayor Bujalski for pointing out the fact that we're being asked to cut our millage and pay more, and we have to actually select 1 out of 4 every very important projects. I just would hate to see the Advantage Alternate 19 plan, thrown onto a back burner or slowed down or being, just being segmented more because of this. That's an important step in this plan.
Well, just wanted to be clear, Commissioner, that the All-19 work could proceed under a different pathway. So we've been working with your staff and PSTA to go after another TOD grant through FTA. That application, I believe, is due next week. And so let's say Gateway still moves forward. There could be a potential federal funding source that would help accomplish that same project through a different means than the property taxes.
Good to hear.
Commissioner Burke?
I'd just like to add to what Vice Mayor Gerard said. I would also support number 3 with a very large caveat, if I may. Chelsea was just up here a minute ago and said, sorry, you smaller cities, you don't qualify for the LAP dollars because you're too small. And now you have extra money available, and all of these 4 projects don't touch any of Mayor Will's cities or Councilman Knapp's towns or my 6 towns. And it seems to be kind of the theme here that the smaller cities are never even considered. You have extra funds that you could do extra projects, but we're not up there anywhere, and it seems to be a theme that the smaller cities are never really considered when this is extra funds, not even something we budgeted on the LRTP or any of those other projects. So did any consideration go into some projects for those of us that hardly ever seem to get a table scrap?
Let me try and answer that for Rodney.
Good question.
I mean, it's a good question. So we do have avenues for local governments to apply for things. What Chelsea was talking about was a local agency program where you have to be certified to carry out federal, to use federal funds locally. And it's a pretty high bar to get certified for that. In fact, some of our cities only get certified for an individual project. And then there's a lot of oversight to make sure they execute that project effectively. And there's been kind of a mixed bag on those results. So it's a high bar, and you almost have to be the county or you have to be the city of St. Pete because they have a lot of staff resources to do that. That's kind of an unfair aspect of the federal allocation of dollars. None of this involves federal dollars, so that's one thing. The other component is we have a local government grant program through the MPO that does not require LAP certification because it is for planning activities as opposed to construction. And every local government can apply for those funds. And there'll be a call for projects later this summer. That used to be a complete streets program. We've now broadened it. So it could be used for area planning, community planning, things like that, as long as transportation is in the forefront. For these, this is more of a land use focus, although transportation can be considered. Previously, when was it, 2019 or so, we had a pilot local government technical assistance program that went to everybody, and I think we funded that at $100,000.
Yes.
If the board would like to do that, we could bring that back and reduce this request to $300,000 instead of $400,000. The other thing that we do often is when there is a special project, and I think the downtown Clearwater one would be a really good example, is we don't pay the full cost of it. When we did the City of St. Pete Downtown Mobility Study, we put in a share, the City of St. Pete put in a share, FDOT put in a share. So I would imagine for Clearwater, that would be the same thing. We wouldn't fully fund it. But when we look at like the Gateway Master Plan or the Target Employment Industrial Lands Study or even the Largo example, Largo would probably put in some money for that example too. But some of these kind of have area-wide significance, and when they have area-wide significance, we don't generally go to every local government and ask for that skin in the game. There's a lot of different ways to approach it. We certainly don't intend to set up a system where 17 of our 24 cities are left out. So I want to be clear that we're happy to create avenues for that. It's just we are trying to carry forward legacy projects that have been sitting out there because none of us planners like to have a plan that just sits on a shelf and doesn't get implemented. And we just feel pretty strongly that if we don't take proactive action to assist local governments with the implementation steps, and just leave it up to them and say, hey, y'all come back to us when you're ready, when you've implemented something, it's going to be a long time.
I don't disagree with that logic, but out here where the rubber meets the road, we're just not seeing the dollars. And if you carry that forward to a merger to the MPOs, the smaller cities can, if it's a big merger, we're never going to see anything in our communities to help our transportation thing. So I don't know where the breakdown is on that, but there seems to be one somewhere.
I mean, that's fair. We are, the Atlanta Regional Commission has 20 counties in their MPO, and they have a local assistance program, and they push those dollars down very effectively to local government. So I think there's a model out there that we could follow with the regional MPO, and that's what our technical assistance program did. I think what we have to do is we have to ask who's applying for those funds. And, not all of our local governments apply for funds like that, even when we had the technical assistance program.
And they're not certified.
Thank you, Vice
so-
Mayor Berg, for bringing that up.
Madam Chair?
I have another.
Yes.
I was just going to say, it's funny because when I looked at those projects, I was thinking the same thing that you said, because I'm a small city too. I mean, everybody's a small city outside of St. Pete, Clearwater, and Largo, and Pinellas Park, let's face it. But then I remembered this is PPC money. So it really is more for the planning side versus the transit side. And as our city, we started applying 6 years ago for the money that you guys brought forward. We applied for it in your first year. We lost to St. Pete, had that same sort of course, St. Pete, no offense. No offense to anybody. But then the next year, we upped our game and we put in a better application. And now we have a $10 million project on Skinner Boulevard. So you should at least take a look at that. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I look at it the same way you do. Where's my piece of the pie? Or I just look at it in North County, north of Union, all the way up to Tarpon. That's how I look at it. What are we getting there? And you always see a lot of dark colors in the south part of the county and a lot of light or no color in the top part, so.
Right, but that also follows population.
It does. It does. Our needs are different.
Right. Yes, Mayor Will?
Going back to the reserves, 18, 20% is considered a healthy reserve. What percentage are we at?
I'm doing some quick math here because there's a few different reserve items. Yeah, we're over 20%.
Okay, so we're over what's considered a healthy reserve.
Yes.
So that's why I feel it justifies the full rollback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, David.
That's okay. I just wanted to make a comment. Everybody else is. It'd be nice to do something in Clearwater, but, we're going through our budget now, and we got so many things on our plate. I know we have to have skin in the game, and just looking at all these projects, they're all good projects, but I think I would support the recommended project number 2. Staff's just, let's go ahead and I would support that plan, and I would support the 0.2 millage rate. I'll make it a motion.
You want to make that your motion?
That'll be my motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? And we have a second. All right? want to take them up separately, Whit? Or?
It's the will of the board. It's fine as far as I'm concerned, but if the board would like to more clearly have a discussion about the millage rate reduction and then have a separate action directing staff, that's fine too.
I'm happy with the current motion. Yeah.
I don't have any, Rodney, you don't have any concerns here?
No, sir.
What about our attorney? Does she have any concerns?
I do not.
And she has no concerns. All right, let's stop while we're ahead. Everybody, all those in favor, please signify by voting. What?
What if you're 4-1 and not for the other?
What?
Except I support the 2-0, but not number 3. So how do I vote, yes or no? By combining the topics, I can't vote either way because I'm
The
4-1
motion
and
is
against the
for
no.
number 2, right?
If I may, with Whit's concurrence, how about we put our heads together and bring back a proposal to you in a couple months to give you some options in terms of that lab certification pathway? Because maybe there's something that we could.
I don't think we have any options for LAP certification, but how about if we come back with some options on how we can better serve the local governments with our grant program?
Yes, you said it better than I, but.
So are we pulling the projects out of this vote? Is that what you're suggesting? So the motion remains the same. So it's on the budget and project number 2. But I understand Vice Mayor Burke's concern. He may be in favor of the budget, but want a different project. So I don't think there's any harm in doing it in 2 separate votes, but we do have a motion and a second on the floor. So how do we have to proceed with that legally?
Whoever made the motion can decide to retract it and put forward a new one. I recommend for clarity at this point, based on the discussion that's being had, it might be better to make 2 separate motions.
Yeah, I told you should have stopped while you were ahead.
No. How about I retract that motion and remake the motion for recommended project number 2?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we need further discussion? Everybody understands? There's no problem. It's clear. All right, everybody in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're voting no. Tina, did you get that? We're all yes votes except for Councilor Burke.
Yes, and Madam Chair, that was for the project number 2. So you're going to handle the budget on a separate motion.
I would like to make a motion for the rollback rate.
Very good. Do we have a second? Second. And it's been seconded. All those in favor, please. What, now do we have more discussion? Yeah.
Is that the full rollback that you're asking for,
Oh,
Mayor
yes,
Will?
yes. The 195.
Mr. Will, I would recommend clarifying your motion just one more time.
I make a motion to utilize the full rollback of .0195.
Who seconded?
And then a second.
Well, it wasn't clear, but now it's clear.
Well, hold on.
Okay, so we start over?
Okay, hold on. Before we do that, I would like to know how that affects everything else that we're doing.
He doesn't have a second.
Well, wait a minute. Can we?
I'm just saying he doesn't have a second, so why even talk about it?
Since there was confusion, can I just make my statement, and then if there's no second, there's no second?
Go for it.
What I'm making a motion for is the full rollback, which would be .0195.
Do we have a second? The motion fails. Sorry, Mayor.
I'll move to approve the staff recommendation for the budget.
Okay, do we have discussion on that motion? We're good. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Mayor Will
I am
is
opposed.
opposed. Okay, the motion passes.
And
Right after I eat the rest of it, okay?
I'm doing chocolate and peanut butter cheese crackers at the same time. I mean.
And I will just point out that this is a recommendation to the Pinellas County Commission, and they will take up your recommendation with all due interest. So they may do something different.
Okay, now we are on item 6. Thank you, Maria.
Madam Chair, I didn't get my chocolate.
What?
Just give us the bag. We'll pass it around.
All right, people. You know that's a stimulus chocolate.
If everybody's in a good mood for the next agenda item, I think that's great.
That should have been the first thing.
Okay. We are now going to do the annual performance evaluation for Whit Blanton. Who wants to start off with discussion on that? Silence. Well, let's hear from Whit then. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just recap what the executive committee recommended. We met last month, and maybe it's 2 months ago we met, and the executive committee reviewed the scores that all of you submitted. We had some discussion about strengths, areas of improvement. Generally speaking, everybody at the executive committee seemed satisfied with the direction of the agency. I think there were some commentary about expediting things and moving things along more quickly. That certainly came up in the discussion, particularly when it comes to transportation projects. We work with a lot of partners, so that's we try to work with as much diligence and speed as we can, but as you can see, it takes a while for dollars to get lined up. But that was definitely a concern that was expressed. Building relationships and doing more for public outreach and engaging our citizens more was a direction that was provided, and we certainly intend to continue to do that and step up in areas where we are able. The executive committee recommended that my salary be adjusted the same as everybody else in the unified personnel system. As Rodney indicated, that's not quite 100% set yet, but that's something that we've done consistently for almost the 9 years that I've been here. So that is essentially the recommendation, is to have the same salary adjustment, and any other direction that you would like to give me either today or individually, one-on-one, I certainly welcome.
Okay. Any comment to Whit's commentary or summary? Commissioner Albritton?
That was a good summary. And I think we did discuss it, all the details that you brought up, but I would put a motion forth to approve the decision by the executive committee.
Second.
All right. And the decision by the executive committee was 3%?
We don't know.
It was not a set percent,
Oh,
but
that's right, we haven't voted on it yet.
it's up to whatever the commission sets.
Right.
And if I may, we just decided whatever the other county employees are getting, we didn't try to adjust it or change it. His average score, overall score, was 3.5 out of 4. We all felt that was good. So,
Very good.
did you make a motion over there?
Yeah.
Second, whatever it was. Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on.
And Madam Chair, may I point out that there were no citizens to be heard on the budget item, and there are no citizens to be heard on this item, please, for the record.
Thank you. All those in favor, please designate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Director's report, Whit.
Sure. Let me just get to where I'm supposed to be. Just a little bit on the Spotlight update. A reminder for some of our new board members, because it came up about the Gateway Master Plan. Back in 2015, we had the board really set some strategic objectives, which I felt were lacking in this organization in previous incarnations, particularly with transportation, is what should we really be focusing on? And so we've been working very hard to enhance beach community access, a vision for the US 19 corridor, and the Gateway Master Plan. And then we backburnered the Gateway Master Plan because we had the adopted plan and we were working and meeting quarterly with our partners to advance that. So I'm glad to see the Gateway Master Plan coming back in focus. We adopted a new strategic emphasis in 2019, I believe, which was innovations in target employment and jobs access. Maybe it was 2021 when we did that. And that has led to the target employment industrial land study. So all of these are kind of big picture countywide initiatives, and they all continue to be important. We have had some meetings with the city of Tarpon Springs on the US 19 North segment, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on what are the next steps for that. We are still looking at the concept of a viaduct versus the individual interchanges on the US 19 corridor. They would still be grade separations of the east-west and north-south roadway in the 19 corridor, which, as one of our public commenters mentioned, is needed and has been for some time. But we want to work through that thoughtfully with the business community, with the residents, because there have been some maybe unintended impacts of building those interchanges in the US 19 corridor further to the south. What used to be a lot of very viable retail and commercial development hasn't really thrived with those interchanges, and they've been replaced with apartment buildings, multifamily development. And I think we just need to be mindful about how land use and transportation are linked and what expectations we should have. And that has caused some concerns in the Palm Harbor and Tarpon Springs community as they look at their mostly mom and pop businesses that are up there in the US 19 corridor. So our next steps are to meet in September with the business communities in both Palm Harbor and Tarpon Springs, and to have a public workshop to set the stage for a corridor study that the Department of Transportation would lead. And so these sessions will help us scope the corridor study and help understand what some of the issues and concerns and expectations that the community has for the US 19 corridor. And then we will prioritize, if this board is willing, funding for that corridor study that would probably be initiated in the next year or two. In addition to that, for the US 19 North corridor, we are continuing to work on the southern segment of US 19 to work with Eckerd College and PSTA and the city of St. Petersburg to develop that express route service that would connect the whole Bayway area, which is a growing area of the county, with the Sunrunner, and then maybe even points north to the Gateway area on the 34th US 19 corridor. So just be aware that that is continuing to be in progress. We are hoping to initiate a mixed-use zoning code for the city of Indian Rocks Beach at their request in the next few months. And that's an example where a city came to us and said, we would like to have Ford Pinellas work with us on modifying our land development regulations. The city of Indian Rocks Beach is paying for it, but they reached out to us and we are doing that as a service. So every local government in the county can reach out to us, and either we can pay for it if we've got the money, or the cities can pay for it if they've got the desire to have something happen. And so that's the path Indian Rocks Beach has chosen for that. And we hope to have a notice to proceed on that sometime in the next month or so. The only other thing I'll mention is that we have a meeting coming up later this week on the update of our waterborne transportation initiative for the Clearwater Ferry. We are convening the various funding partners to work out a financing plan for the grant that was awarded from the state of Florida. And we are bringing dollars into the county from outside the county with these state funds, but the state funds require a 50% match. So we are still trying to shore up what that 50% match looks like. If we can't get to the full 655 to match the grant, we may need to scale back the service, which currently is assumed to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all-day service between Clearwater Beach, Clearwater downtown, and the city of Dunedin. If it needs to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or if we need to separate out the intervals of the frequency of that service, those may be options. Otherwise, hopefully we can get a full $655,000 local match. So that's an update on the waterborne transportation. In addition to that, I was in a meeting yesterday where the Cross Bay Ferry has one more year of an agreement between the City of St. Petersburg and Hillsborough County and HMS Ferries. The county is contributing 5% to the City of St. Petersburg, but largely the funding is coming from the County of Hillsborough and St. Pete. And the City of Tampa is also a partner in that as well. What we talked about was potentially moving that operation underneath PSTA. Hillsborough County is no longer interested in managing that service. PSTA would issue a procurement for a new operator beginning likely in October. We are then having some discussions about what that funding commitment may look like in the future. That ties in really well with the market segmentation study that this board authorized us to initiate, and we're having our kickoff meeting on Friday. And that is a regional effort looking at Hillsborough, Manatee, and all of Pinellas County, not just the Cross Bay Ferry, but other potential services. And that will feed directly into the procurement and scoping of the future Cross Bay Ferry operator. So there's a lot of moving parts. Nasheen Rahman of our staff is our project manager for that, so she gets to herd the cats and manage that effort. But things are moving forward, and we hope to have some resolution on those issues in the next few months. And I'll just see if you have any questions on any of those updates.
Any questions, concerns, anything? No? Is that it for you?
One other thing I want to mention under Director's Report, get back there. These will be real quick. We are kicking off the multimodal transportation impact fee update. That's happening shortly. We've selected a consultant. We are entering phase 2 of that work. Phase 1 was really a lot of just due diligence and meeting with key stakeholders around the county, and Jared Austin of our staff spearheaded that effort, really to build consensus on what that update should cover, what concerns or questions people have. We are leaving a lot of dollars on the table with our transportation impact fee as development happens. And as you can see with the target employment industrial land study, we are granting significant increases in density and intensity in this county. And if you're giving that kind of profit-making opportunity for the development community, then there should be some value captured back to funnel into our transportation network. The transportation impact fee today is not doing it. It is not doing it at all. And we are falling behind not only our transportation infrastructure, but we're falling behind our peer counties and peer cities in what they're charging developers pretty significantly. So I don't know what the outcome will be because we haven't started the technical analysis, but I wanted to let you know that that was about to be underway. And if you would like to be engaged, if you have questions, if you would like your staff to be engaged, then please reach out to us and we'll make sure we can set up individual meetings and make sure that happens.
How long is that going to take?
It'll probably take about 18 months because it's a pretty complex effort, but we're going to work as diligently and quickly as we can. This is a county ordinance and we're leading it and we're not the county. So we're going to bring everybody along and then hopefully we'll get the county commission to adopt the new ordinance. But that's the 18 months would be inclusive of adoption of the ordinance as well. The next item I want to mention is the I-175 action plan. This is an outgrowth of the downtown mobility study that I spoke out earlier that we completed in 2022. And this is a look at what is the future of I-175. And Brian Hunter has been developing the scope of services with FDOT. We've sent him some comments along with the City of St. Petersburg. And he expects to initiate work with a consultant on that sometime early this fall. In fact, tonight, Brian and I are meeting with the Downtown St. Pete Neighborhood Association to talk about I-175 and what we're going to be looking at in that scope of services. There is a significant amount of public involvement associated with that. It will be pretty extensive. I think there's over 30 meetings scheduled as part of that. There's also a lot of technical analysis. Because when you start looking at the interstate spurs, you start really getting into the weeds with the federal government and Tallahassee because the interstate system is of such strategic importance. Again, a pretty robust effort looking at all things that are possible within the 175 corridor. And just a reminder that we do not have an August meeting, so enjoy some time off and away from us, and we'll reconvene in September. That's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Any comments or questions to Whit's comments? No? I would like to ask Secretary Gwen if you would like to, is there anything you would like to address? Please come forward, since you're here.
Good afternoon. No, I don't have 3 minutes, actually. I was here today. We let Justin go on vacation for a couple weeks, so I told him I'd cover here today, and I'm glad to be here anyway. But no, things are just moving forward. Obviously, we've got some interesting things we're working through right now in Pinellas County, working very closely with Whit and his team on some issues we got to get some resolution to, but I think we've got a plan in motion, and we're working through things, so everything from our perspective seems to go pretty well. I'll be glad if there's any questions that you have.
Any questions for Secretary Gwen? Now's your chance. We don't often have him in front of us. Mayor Balzowski.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for working with the city of Dunedin on our trail crossing and the traffic light.
All right, great.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Commissioner Albritton?
And again, thank you for working with City of Clearwater and on Drew Street project. I know that you'll be glad to get that behind you.
It's work in progress, but we're working through it.
Commissioner Driscoll.
Well, since we're doing a round of thanks, I will thank you for your help with getting the MLK Street Bridge work moving forward again in St. Petersburg. I go by almost every day, and I'm looking to see if cranes are moving and people are out there, and there actually is some progress that's been noted. And so I just really appreciate your partnership and leadership on getting that done, because we're this close with that bridge.
We'll be glad when it's over.
Me too. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, no. Secretary Gwen, thank you so much for all you've done for Pinellas County and for the Tampa Bay region. You have been a great secretary for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. And I think unless anybody has anything else for the good of the order, nobody? Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.